Hello everyone, my name is Smurfy, and today this is the Holy Priest gameplay guide. So what I want to cover today is basically how to play the class in both a 5-man heroic and a raid finder scenario, just to show you how the gameplay works and the different playstyle between 5-mans and raids. So first thing here is a boss from Upper Blackrock Spire. Basically, for 5-mans, you're going to run Chakra Serenity, and what this does is any target affected by your renew will have the renew duration refreshed by your direct heals. It also grants the Holy Word Serenity, and this is just an instant cast single target heal, and it'll put a buff on your target that increases the critical chance of your heals for the next 6 seconds on that target. So this is a very useful, strong instant cast heal for 5-mans and 10 to 12-man raiding. In raids higher than that or bigger than that, you're going to want to use Holy Word Sanctuary, which reduces the cast time of your of your Circle of Healing spell, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But first, let's talk about 5-mans. So for 5-mans, what your basic rotation is going to be is keeping Renew up on the tank and Prayer of Mending basically on cooldown. So in order to keep Renew on your tank, considering the the Chakra Serenity, the easiest way to do that is just use your Holy Word Serenity on cooldown on the tank, and using heal as a filler just to keep him alive, while using some of your procs for flash heals or just any type of healing. You can also put Renew on your other group members as they take damage. Circle Healing is also a great AoE heal for your group, as well as Prayer of Healing. And depending on your tier 6 talent, for me I'm running Cascade, that's also a great AoE heal. But we're not going to focus on that too much right now, it's more about healing your tank. So when your tank is taking lots and lots of damage, you have a couple things you can do to burst him back up. The first basically burst combo, I would call it, is it starts out with a Holy Word Serenity into 2 flash heals and a heal. So why that works is your Holy Word Serenity will increase the crit chance of your heals for the next 6 seconds on the tank. So while that is up, you can cast 2 flash heals, and thanks to the Serendipity passive, it'll decrease the cast time of your next heal by 20% for each flash heal. So once you cast 2, you will have basically a heal that casts just as fast as a flash heal, and its mana cost is also reduced by 40%. So a quick burst would be the Holy Word Serenity, flash heal, heal. So that's a very easy and efficient way to bring your tank back up from certain death. Also, to bring him back from certain death, we have the Guardian Spirit cooldown, which is a 3-minute cooldown that will increase the healing you do to that target by 60%, and if a attack brings them to below 0, they'll be returned to 40% HP, so it'll save them from death. So those are your most basic oh shit cooldowns or bursts that you can run. If you've spec'd into Power Infusion, that'll increase your haste and it'll reduce your mana cost for a duration of time as well. So I would use that when you're facing a lot of damage that you need to deal with. So moving on, there's not too much more to talk about as far as 5-man healing goes. It's just basically making sure you have your Renew running on tank and keeping your Prayer of Mending on cooldown, using flash heal procs as you get them, if you're spec'd into Surge of Light, that is. If you're spec'd into Mindbender, Goodness, dog, stop it. If you're spec'd into Mindbender, make sure you're using that on cooldown just to return mana to you. And if you're spec'd into the Power Word Soulless, make sure you're attacking the target your group is attacking to help them with damage, and it'll return mana to you, as well as heal someone in your group. For boss fights, you want to make sure you have your light well down, so make sure you're saving your light well. Also, don't use it on trash unless it's a very strong trash pack, because it does have a 3-minute cooldown, and at the pace you get from boss to boss in heroics, you might not have it up in time for a boss fight. So save it on trash packs like these. You'll see that I'm just saving it and using flash heals to keep my tank alive and keeping him pretty much topped off. I'll throw a circle of healing there because everyone in the group took a little bit of damage. Used a proc and went back to healing the tank. It's really not too complex of a rotation. You just have it's a reactive type thing, whereas discipline is more of a preventative type spec. If you watch my Resto Druid massive raid damage guide, you'll know I talked about how there are two different types of healers in WoW. One's the reactive and one's the proactive. Discipline priests and Resto Druids are definitely proactive healers because of hots and shields, whereas holy priests, we don't actually even use Power Word Shield. I mean, you can use it, but it's not recommended because it's very lackluster, and especially in raids, it'll give your target the weakened soul debuff, and if you have a holy priest in your group, or no, I'm sorry, a discipline priest in your group, you're preventing them from putting their powerful shields on the target, so that is not recommended. So as a holy priest, you're just a reactive healer. So you just have to, you know, watch for healing, or watch for damage done, and react accordingly. It's actually, I'd say, a lot easier to play than something like a proactive healer, because as a reactive healer you can pretty much get away with not knowing what you have to do and just watching people take damage and healing them as it happens. So it's more simple like that. So getting into this boss fight, I just want to make note of your angelic feathers. There's a lot of movement you need to do on this fight. You can put down 3 at a time. They're on a very short cooldown. You can help your group out. I find that it's kind of difficult to coordinate putting your feathers down with other group members, so at the very least, at least make yourself able to move quickly so you can get out of harm's way and heal people that couldn't move as quickly or decided they didn't want to move. So as the fight starts, I dropped a light well, I put Prayer of Mending on the tank as well as Renew. I'm refreshing Renew with the Power Word Serenity, or Holy Word Serenity, sorry. Using the Surging Light proc on someone who took a lot of damage, running around to avoid the AoE, and getting back to healing the tank. Just monitoring health bars as necessary. Very, very simple. So I did drop an angelic feather for that guy who had the cyclone on him so he could move away and not take too much damage. So as the ads drop in here, a lot of people are going to be taking a lot of damage. So you're going to need to be using Circle of Healing and Prayer of Healing quite a bit more than you were on the other fights. So be prepared for that. Make sure you're able to use those on cooldown, as well as trying to keep some renews up on your group members. That'll help out quite a bit as well. Just some hots to help out with that. I did put Guardian Spirit on the tank because there was just a lot of damage on him right there, and I was more focused on keeping everybody else in the group, or getting everybody else in the group back to a decent amount of health. So the Guardian Spirit did return him to 40% health pretty much instantly, so that prevented a wipe, which was great. I think the Shaman's gonna die to some fire here, which is a little unfortunate, but Shamans are able to res themselves. Continuing to monitor health bars. This is just such a hectic fight with fire going around. It's almost like you have to watch for the birds before they, or dragons before they start breathing their fire. But it's great that we have quite a few instant cast heals to be able to deal with that. So the warrior almost died there. That's alright. Everybody's at about 50%. Not something to panic about. As long as you're making sure your tank is alive and above 50%, you can kind of manage to keep your other group members at around 50% and it won't be a problem. Alright, so that's all it is for 5-man healing. Not too much there. Let's look at 25-man. This is a Raid Finder group. Unfortunately, my guild is not running this week, so I had to go into Raid Finder to get you some gameplay example of how 25-mans work and raids above 15 at least. So I'm using Chakra Sanctuary here, and what that does is it reduces the cast or the cooldown of your Circle of Healing by 1 second for every heal that you cast. So your entire rotation is going to basically revolve around that. And what's the quickest way to heal and remove that cooldown? Well, it would be an instant cast heal, wouldn't it? Well, we really only have one of those in this chakra, and that is Renew. So Holy Priests in raids are basically going to be Renew spamming and throwing Circle of Healing. That's about all you do, as well as monitoring some health bars for flash heals as people might die, and keeping Prayer Mending on cooldown for things such as the Chain Hurl group. You want to make sure that you coordinate with your group leader to make sure all those people are in the same group, so you can use your Prayer of Healing to keep them all alive. Also, I would recommend, I haven't said this yet, okay, stop it. Sorry about that. Texts because I'm popular. What was I saying? It was, oh yeah, so your UI, you want to make sure that you keep groups together, whether you use the standard UI or something like an ELV UI. You just want to make sure that you keep groups together, so you can make use of your Prayer of Healing better, because without that you're just going to be randomly throwing that and you won't know who all it's going to heal, and that would be a little unfortunate. So once again, most basic raid healing is going to be Renew spamming to keep the Circle of Healing cooldown as low as possible, and throwing that around at people that are taking lots of damage. For massive raid damage, you will use Cascade. You're going to cast Cascade 2 to 3 seconds before the raid damage is about to happen, and that'll allow it to start blooming and ticking on everybody around the group, so you'll have them pretty much healed right as it happens to counter any kind of damage and get back to a normal rotation, so your DPS won't have to worry too much about dying. Of course, this is not too hard, so it's not going to teach you too much, because this is Raid Finder and I could probably smash my head on the keyboard and heal efficiently. But it is nice practice to get into a Raid Finder and practice your rotation mechanics, that sort of thing, because it is very forgiving if you make a mistake, and you can learn and improve like so. I'm going to talk about cooldowns again real quick. So if you don't take Power Infusion, you really only have 2 cooldowns, and if you do take Power Infusion, you have 3. These cooldowns are Guardian Spirit and Divine Hymn. I already talked about Divine Hymn, where it will save someone from sudden death and it'll increase healing by 60%. Divine Hymn is basically Tranquility if you're familiar with Druids. It's going to heal everybody in the group within 40 yards over a channel time of, I believe, 10 seconds. So right after any massive damage, you'll want to coordinate that with anybody else that has a similar cooldown. So like if you have a Holy Priest and a Resto Druid in the group together, you want to make sure that you coordinate who's going to use what at what time. So like a fight like Tectis, one of you guys will use your cooldown on the first Tectonic Upheaval, and one will use it on the second, and hopefully you can manage the third with just AoE heals, and one of you will pick up the fourth after that, and so on. So definitely coordinate Divine Hymn with anybody else in the group that has a similar cooldown. Mass Dispel, make sure you have that somewhere on your bar. There's not really anything that needs to be mass dispelled in High Maul, but that's High Maul. We don't know yet about Blackrock Boundary. There may be some things that Priest will be definitely useful for, so don't forget that spell exists. Also, I forget exactly what it's called, but it removes magic. It removes beneficial magic effects from the enemy target. You can keep that on your bar for things like a healing buff that some mobs give themselves. There's a couple of them in Heroics that do that. So make sure you have those. Have your Desperate Prayer macroed, so you are keybinded, so you you know, don't die. Other than that, I think I've pretty much talked about anything that needs to be talked about. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you still have questions, please feel free to leave a comment in the section below. Please like the video if you learned something, and subscribe for future content. Thanks guys, we'll see you next time.